just picked up this bass. I just got home with it. It is a made in Mexico Fender jazz bass. I'm in love with this look. It's not for everyone, but it was for me. And what's really special about this bass, or at least what I found to be a treat, is Bill put Flatwounds on there. But anyway, before I go any further, let me also say a heartfelt thank you to all of you who have been watching the videos, commenting and subscribing. I really appreciate you guys. That's all I want to say. I just want to say thank you today. I am very grateful. I'm grateful to still be on this earth after just crossing the 1-year mark since my heart attack last year. Really appreciate you guys. Everything's going well with me, and I believe it will continue to do so until it doesn't, right? But this bass, as soon as I started playing it, I was like, wow. Like I said, it's not perfect. It has a few little quirks, especially when you get beyond the 12th fret. But it wasn't a deal breaker, especially for the price. It wasn't a deal breaker. I bought it for $575. So up here, yeah, it's a little, we'll get to it, we'll work on it. But the Flatwounds feel great. That's what I'm gonna leave on this bass. I'm really digging it. Technically, this is the first actual jazz bass I've ever owned. As I told you guys in the other video, I played 2 of them that belonged to a close friend of mine, but I never pulled the trigger and bought one. I just always kind of was like, oh, maybe I'll get one at some point. I always felt like the precision was more for me. And I still think this, but I do like the jazz. I like the way the neck feels. Yeah, it's a, there's something going on with the pickups here, and my nails are getting caught. I'm gonna have to adjust them. I see that someone had fiddled with it a little bit. I'll work on that. Slapping it sounds a little weird. I'm going to turn the tone up. Both of the pickups are turned all the way up. Here's just the bridge. Now here's the neck pickup. And the tone is all the way up, by the way. And here's all of it. What was that riff I was doing? Some of the sound you're hearing is from the ring. So I'm going to take the ring off. But I don't think my amp is messed up. So I'm gonna see if I can reproduce that riff that I was just playing on the jazz bass. Something I need to mention to you guys. Volume is all the way up and tone is all the way up. That's all you got on this Precision, okay? Okay? All right, let me see if I can remember that. Yeah, so you got to hear the difference. So there you go. I think it's a very warm sounding bass. I think a lot of that goes to the flatwounds that are on it. The tones are similar, but at the same time, it's a different feel, different world. I'm gonna have some real fun recording some moody bass lines with this bass. You obviously see that I'm a little bit more comfortable with the Precision bass. I also favor the tone of the Precision bass. Being primarily a rock bassist, this is more my speed. The jazz bass definitely has its uses. I'm going to dive deep into it and really get to know it. But this, for me, in the world of Fender, as a bass player, it's gotta be the Precision bass, okay? For the guitar, for me, it's also the Stratocaster. The rest of these people who are like jazz bass purists, I get you. I'm not against that at all. Like I said, this will have its uses. I'm buying these basses because I'm trying to cover the 4 basic bass groups of standard music, like rock to whether it be rock, jazz, bluesy, whatever, but just good all-around basses that you have heard on many classic recordings. You can narrow it down to this bass, the jazz bass, the Rickenbacker, and Music Man Stingray. And that's all there is to it. I mean, you have those 4 basses and you want to cover the world, you want to be able to achieve that tone when you're recording, those are your basses. If I had to pick only one, and I'm talking with the consideration of being able to, it's gonna be the frickin' Stingray, okay? I told you guys this before, I said this in other videos. The Music Man Stingray is the best all-around bass that's out there today. It just is. There's no better bass. It is the best of every world. You can get all these great tones out of it, and if you are the type of player who likes to slap and you want to do other stuff, especially if you go and get a 5-string and you like that low end, you just can't beat the Stingray. I'm sorry, but it's true. It's my opinion, but I think it's an opinion that a lot of people can agree with. Some people may not agree with it. I get that. But everyone has their bass that speaks to them. This bass, I was steered in this direction and I wasn't sorry that I went there, but I still think that my bass is the Padula. I think for someone who wants to play fretless and I want that sound, there's just those times where you're gonna wanna go for different things. One bass just can't do everything. Other than the Stingray, there really isn't a Swiss Army knife of basses. There just isn't. If you wanted to get everything, you would have to go with at least a 5-string, maybe a 6-string, if you wanted to cover all sorts of tones. But then when you start slapping, you got to really readjust your technique because of the spacing of the strings. It can get a little tricky, from my experience at least. And some basses are made for that. Like I said, you go out and get a Ken Smith or something, you know, you get one of these nice boutique basses, they are made for you to do that. But other than that, when you're talking somewhat of a budget, you want something reliable, something that's been around forever since the beginning of electric basses, then you kind of need to go to Fender. I love Fender. I love them. I love Ibanez, as you know. I started out in an Ibanez. But these are really good, well-rounded basses. You can see this kind of a bass in anything from the Beatles even, or, you know, you can see this bass from Pink Floyd, Roger Waters. You can see this bass with Pink Floyd. You can see a bass like this, maybe not this exact same finish, but you can see Steve Harris playing this from Iron Maiden, who you guys have been mentioning Iron Maiden. We're going to talk Iron Maiden later. You can see it in all types of music, and it just fits in. It doesn't matter what the style is, what the genre is. This bass fits just about better than any other bass out there. The next bass that would fit in is gonna be the Stingray. I'm telling you. This video was mainly about this bass here. You know, it has some quirks, and I told him that up front. I said, I see some things that are wrong, but the intonation seems to be right. The Made in Mexico Fenders, here's something I need to tell you guys about that, and it's not me bashing them. One thing I've noticed, this is my second Made in Mexico Fender. The first one I had was a P bass, and it had an issue where I think it was the E on the D string, if I remember correctly. It was either a little sharp or a little flat. And I was in the studio recording with that bass, and it was causing me some issues. And even the guy who was recording us was like, yeah, that bass is a little bit off. I mean, we checked the tuning and made sure everything was right, but the intonation was off on it, basically. So that's something to look out for when you buy Made in Mexico Fenders. They're more about quantity rather than quality. Not to totally bash them, you can tweak them a little bit and then you'll have a nice bass. I just think that when you're looking at paying upwards of $1,700 or more for an American jazz bass, you're probably going to be a lot happier, but you may not necessarily see this exact configuration or this finish, and that was the main thing that I really wanted from the bass. This one is a heck of a lot better than the Made in Mexico Fender Precision, which was a PJ bass. I'm going to go on and wrap this video up. I got to tell you what I'm using here. I'm using TC Electronic BG500. In most of these videos, I'm playing through that amp. I am not playing through the Marshall. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I will have another video out to you very, very soon.